I want to talk to everybody today about SKOPENOW.com. SKOPENOW has been a big-time sponsor of this program for quite some time, and I just love their service. I've been using them since the beginning. I'm one of their beta customers, and it's been so awesome to see them grow into the business that they are today, and just how they just keep reinventing themselves and pushing themselves to get more and more information. What it comes down to is SKOPENOW is a tool that you definitely need to use if you do social media investigations, any internet research, and really spending less time digging around and looking for information. I think is one of the best points of how SKOPENOW can help you. Their AI platform, their analytics are amazing. You really get an idea of what you need. You're reducing the time, you're reducing the manpower that you're spending on doing this research, because they're essentially doing it for you, and they're doing it correctly, which is most important. One of the new things that they're actually offering is this flagging system where you can flag behaviors and really highlight and look out for fraud. If you're doing a lot of fraud research, this is a fantastic tool, and you can set up alerts. So you have particular people that you're looking at, you can actually set up alerts to get notifications when the criteria that you set up is actually is flagged and goes off. It's really, really amazing. And their relationship and association analytics are top notch, really cutting edge and really, really cool. When they brought that out on version 3, it was a game changer. I mean, really being able to see how people interact together and having that relationship, analysis is really, really something that's cool. One of the other things about being involved with SKOPENOW is their ability to offer webinars. Their team is cutting edge on putting together and getting out really, really great content. If you're a member of SKOPENOW, if you know who they are, you've seen them around on LinkedIn, you'll know that they're constantly doing webinars on these new websites that are coming out, and they're really staying on top of it. And don't forget, any reports that you generate, you can actually white label those reports and put your own logos on and really make them look professional, which could equate to more billing for you as well. So check them out today. It's www.skopenow.com. They're a great, great company. They should be one of the tools in your toolbox, along with whatever kind of search engines you do. You need to make sure that SKOPENOW is a part of that suite. SKOPENOW.com.
Are you a member of NCISS? Do you know what this great organization does? The National Council of Investigation and Security Services was formed in 1975 to keep a watchful eye on legislation that affects our industry. Now more than ever, there are data privacy and DMV issues popping up all over the country. Consider joining and supporting this much-needed watchdog for our industry. Learn more at nciss.org. Welcome to PI Perspectives. Before we jump into the show, we want to acknowledge the life of F. Lee Bailey. Mr. Bailey worked as a PI, served in the armed forces, and became a celebrated attorney. If you were lucky enough and had the chance to see him speak at an event, you'd experience yourself the amount of knowledge he'd share with our industry. So rest in peace, Mr. Bailey. On today's show, we welcome Eric Devan from South Carolina. Our topic today is the art of the witness statement. Let's check in with Eric Devan and your host, private investigator Matt Spare.
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of PI Perspectives. This week I'm really excited and proud to introduce my next guest. His name is Eric Devan. He's from Devan & Associates down in South Carolina. We actually met in person finally at the Scally event a couple weeks ago. And he did a fantastic presentation on photography, but that's not what we're talking about today. So Eric, I want to invite you to the program. How are you?
I'm well, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. It was really great to spend some time with you and really see your methodology on how you do things. Everybody's got their own special way of doing things, and it's so important when we go to conferences to share this stuff with each other. And an old dog like me with all this gray hair here can pick up a few things, which is good. So tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into the business?
Well, I went to school. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I went to Westchester University. And I was a criminal justice major, graduated in 1988.
Okay.
And all I wanted to do was be an investigator.
Sure.
That's all I really wanted to do. I thought about federal law enforcement at the time, because I was right out of school. I was asked to have 1 year of experience unless I was fluent in Spanish or I was a certified public accountant,
Okay.
which neither one of those.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to get a job with a company that placed me in other companies as a undercover investigator. And I actually worked some pretty cool jobs.
Yeah, I had an account my first job out of school was working for a company that did that. So we had employees that were watching other employees, and it was a whole big network. Strauss Discount Auto was a big client of ours, lumber yards and things like that. And I remember, there were guys that were steering lumber at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we had to show up and videotape them doing it. We only knew it was going down at a particular time because one of our informants who, applied for a job there, we set it all up. They went him through, and he had to have him work for a whole bunch of weeks before they got comfortable with everybody. But that was a really cool experience. Hey, kudos to you to go into Westchester. It's a dry campus, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Kudos, man.
It's a dry campus on paper. Let's just say
there you go. I actually applied, and I didn't make it into that school. Yeah, it was one of the schools that, this was in 91. I wasn't the best student. I don't, I ended up going to John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. And, I had to take an English 100 class. So who would know that I write, I've written books and for magazines and things like that. You never know where you're going to go. But all right, back to your story here. I'm interrupting you. Pre-employment or employment screening and all that. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, I cool industries. I worked as a long distance operator.
Okay.
I worked for the electric company. I worked for a jeweler, and there were different investigations, different places. There was theft of services. There was theft. There were drugs, people selling drugs at the job. I got involved in a child pornography investigation, murder for hire.
Oh, wow.
So they were fun because I got a chance to work a lot of different types of investigations where I could be my alter ego and, work during the day and hang out at night and still get paid for it.
Right. Eric Devan, right? Now you changed your name.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that, but I just got to the point where I felt like I moved to another company doing the same thing. And I felt like I was doing my work and my boss's work. I felt like I was doing both jobs. And so I said to my boss, I told him, if I'm doing my job and your job, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm telling you what to do. I said, oh, well, maybe I need to leave and get, start my own business.
Right.
And he laughed at me, but it was a serious laugh, like, you're not going to do it. And I thought about it, and the next week I gave my 2 weeks notice. Then I asked for 3 because I needed some time because I decided to move to South Carolina.
Right.
I came here for a wedding and I just thought it was nice. And I said, if I'm going to start over and I'm going to start my own thing, let me start all over someplace else.
Yeah. Well, also, if you think about it, during that time, with the banking industry really, really taking off, the Carolinas were the place to be. There's a lot of infrastructure and growth in Carolina. It probably made sense.
Yeah, I wish I was thinking that way, but at the time, I was just thinking.
And the weather's good.
One November, and it was almost 70 degrees. That's that was my thought process. Like, I'm getting away from this snow in Philadelphia.
Right, Philly in the winter sucks.
I was just thinking, hey, I'm getting away from the snow and everything. So I just had a young person's mindset, but I also had an entrepreneur spirit.
Sure.
And I thought that when I moved and I didn't know people here, I thought that moving back to my comfort zone would be a failure.
Right.
And so I said, no matter how lean the times were, or what was going on, that I was going to make it work. And I was fortunate enough to work for a couple companies that the things that I liked that they did, I really, really liked.
Okay.
But the things that they did that I didn't like, I said, I'm not going to do those things. However, the things that they like, I'm going to replicate from a business perspective. So
Sure.
I didn't want to be an a detective, like a gumshoe. I wanted to have a PI business. Don't just want to collect money. This wasn't like a side job. Like,
Right.
I wanted to treat this like a business. I want everything about what I did, branding and invoices and how down to how I answered the phone. I wanted everything to be consistent and treat it like a business,
Right.
and let the work, which I do good work, let that speak for itself. But if I do good work and I'm a bad business person, it's not going to last. And if
Right.
I'm a good business person but a bad investigator, again, it's not going to last. You have to be good at both.
Yeah. At least initially, when you start your business, you definitely have to be good at both. Then you
Yes.
got to develop a skill of how to hire good people to work
Right.
for you, and have a good team surrounding you, because you get to a point where you can't do everything.
You just can't. You just
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. And listen, it's a good problem to have, but
Right.
your work product will suffer if you try and do everything.
Right.
And that was a growing pain that I had, and even convincing my clients that they're okay and in capable hands with the people that are working for me, because I do have an excellent staff, a great team of people that work for me, and I trust them, and
Yeah.
that's not easy. It's not easy to
Yeah.
trust somebody,
Yeah. Especially when you have we have good clients that that enjoy your work, and um the entire process.
Right.
And if for whatever reason you introduce somebody else into that process, um they're going to be skeptical initially if the process is going to be complete the way it had been.
Right.
And that's tough. That's a tough sell. The whole thing is tough, but it's just part of growing.
Yeah.
And when you maintain good relationships with your clients, it does help. It does help to say that hey, you aren't going to miss anything that you had with me. Everything is going to be the same,
Sure.
and you can still reach out and call me. But
Yeah.
in order for me to stay on with you, be competitive, offer you the good rate, and do the things that you become accustomed to,
Right.
you have to allow me to have other people help me help you.
Yeah. And the other thing is when you start like throwing them the rates that you charge as opposed to the rates for your team doing it, that's the other thing too. It's like, oh, well, if you're insisting on dragging me out of the office to do this thing for you, I would love to do it for you. I have no problem doing it for you, but you got to pay my rate. And it's different than the rate for the other people. That's another thing though.
Yeah, sometimes the client be like, you know what? I'll pay it for
Yeah,
peace of mind.
and that's okay. I'm totally fine with that, because I love doing the field work. What I don't love is going and doing an assignment that is going to keep me out of the office for 3 or 4 hours, where I know if I can be sitting in front of the computer, I can be much more productive billing wise. So if you can match that rate, I'll go out and do the work. I don't mind doing it. And it keeps us sharp. Like, I think we, as investigators, like, we have to get out there every now and then. Otherwise the world is going to pass us by, and you lose the soft skills, which is kind of what we're talking about here today, on talking to people, and doing witness statements, and really understanding kids' gloves, and I guess, crafting your end goal, making sure that you're setting yourself up for a win by the way you ask your questions, which is really important. And everybody has their own methodology of doing things. And, you got to take into factor region, you got to take into factor specific location, background, who are you talking to? What's the end goal? Like, these are really important things you have to factor in how you approach everything, right? There's no one way to do things. Each assignment kind of speaks for itself, right?
Yeah, it does. There are certain things that I think that I have, certain types of interviews or getting people to feel comfortable that I have a significantly more, I believe, significantly more success with.
Right.
And when I say success, I'm always really good with getting people to talk, open up, feel comfortable. But the population of significantly older women just want to talk to me. Yeah. I don't know what it is I say or what I do. It has nothing.
Look at you, Barry White. Must be that sugar voice, man.
I do not know, but I can get much older women to just speak to me, and make them feel comfortable and make them give them a voice. Yeah. And although I can get everybody to speak, it's just that's the ones that it works a little faster. I have to do a whole lot less to get this.
I think also, like, layering truth in why you're there and what you're doing is so important. I have seen situations really turn bad when there's deception involved. I remember I was training a guy, right? And we were going to a building to go interview some people. And, this was in Brooklyn, and it was a Mike Tyson area of Brooklyn. Okay. It was a tough neighborhood. And there were, people in front of the building that's their building. You want to go into the building, you need to talk to those people. And this guy got really abusive with these people. And he was a retired law enforcement. And, I think he worked for me for like 2 or 3 days. And I was just like, ain't working, buddy. Right. Because the way he approached those people was authoritative. Right. And you don't have a badge. Like, this is not the way it's working here. You got to ask their permission to get in, or can you help me? Right? Can you help me find this person? I need you. Like, that kind of stuff. You're now empowering them, and you're inserting them within the narrative of the story, right? Here, look, I helped this guy get what he needs to do. And, in that particular situation, it wasn't a criminal matter. It was a civil matter. I think it was a fire in the building. We were trying to determine just some facts about the fire and how, what went down as the fire was happening was really important, right? So, like, the building captain was important to talk to really, let's rally the troops here and figure out who we need to talk to. So I had a nice little conversation with the dude working for me. I was like, don't ever do that again, and, that's just not the way you do things, so you let the situation speak for itself. Definitely.
I had one, this was a criminal defense case, and I go to the address where the supposedly witness was. And it's tough because young people have the don't snitch mantra. And so the first thing that I do is I always walk up to people confidently. And I'm not looking down at my nose. I'm not shrugging my shoulders. I always walk up really, really confident. So I walk up to a group. I want to say it was like 3 guys on the step, and just the fact that we were having a conversation, another guy came out. They were already drinking and smoking marijuana. And one guy says, "Man, you must be police." I said, "No, I'm not police." I said, "I am an investigator." I told him straight out. I said, "No, I am an investigator." I said, "I'm a criminal defense investigator. I said, you know the difference, right? He said, no, what's that? So I said, well, when somebody gets arrested, just like there's, have the right to counsel, they have a right to somebody to, investigate on their behalf. And he said, well, we're not snitching. We're not telling you anything. I said, okay, no problem. I said, hey, man, can I sit here for a second? He said, yeah, if you want to. I said, okay. He said, so what's up? I said, well, you said we were done talking, but I get paid by the hour, right? So there's no need for me to leave now. He said, what you mean? I said, well, whether you talk to me or not, I'm still gonna get paid. So why am I gonna go back to the office? He said, oh man, you get paid anyway? Yep. He said, do they give you a car? I said, no. I said, even better, I get mileage. He said, how's that work? I said, well, I drove here. And so, I get like 56 cents a mile. Let's call it like 50 cents a mile. So for every 2 miles, I get $1, and then, for the time here. He said, so even if we don't talk to you, you're still getting paid? Yep. And so one of them had like a football jersey on, asked him if that was his team. And he said, yeah. And I'm just sitting there. He said, man, seriously, who you looking for? And I told him. He said, man, he don't live here. He used to live here. I said, where's he live now? Oh, he live over such and such. You can catch him over there. That's where his baby mom is. Go over there now. He'll be there.
Problem solved.
Yeah. Problem solved.
Yeah. And you de-escalate the situation, right? So, it's fantastic, man. I find that when you approach situations like that, right? Truth, comfort level, these are all important things. I think, it's so hard when you're pretexting to remember the lies,
Yeah. I have the mindset that my job is to ask the questions whether you give an answer or not.
Yeah.
Or whether you want to participate or not, because there's some people that just don't want to participate.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ask the questions. Now, if my job is to ask the questions, why am I going to be a jerk if I want them to participate? Or why do I need to lie or pretext if I want them to participate? Because I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I don't have to pretend that I'm here for. Sometimes you have to, like for undercover, or
the situation speaks for itself, right? When you
don't have to, then don't do it. Just just ask the questions. Be clear about why you're there. Answer any reasonable questions. But I'm quick to stop people when they have a whole bunch of questions, because my job is to ask the questions, not necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're answering questions when you're on the stand. Other than that, no, thank you. That's cool, man. So we're going to jump out and take a quick break here. But when we come back in, I feel like we're on a groove here, and I want to hammer in a little bit more on methodology. Like how you approach this, how you start off, and we'll just kind of walk into it, because I'm sure you and I have plenty of war stories. We could get a bunch out of this, but I want to talk technique as well. So everybody sit tight, and we'll be right back. Crosstracks case management system. That is what we are talking about today. Are you using a case management system? What are you waiting for? If you don't use a case management system, you really need to look into implementing that into your business regimen. I've been at it with Crosstracks now a little over a year, and it's just been a game changer for my business. They are SOC 2 certified, SOC 2 Type 2 certified. If you don't know what that means, it means that their encryption system is second to none, and you have to go through a whole screening process to figure out if you can even qualify for that, and they have. So with certainty your data is being protected. I don't think there's another case management system out there that offers that same ability to have the SOC 2 Type 2 certification. As you guys know, I've been singing the praises of Crosstracks, and I really believe in this product, and I believe you should check it out. Contact Brad, contact Pat, one of the team members over there, and see if it's right for you. Crosstracks case management system. Check it out today.
Are you overwhelmed with your current caseload? Could you use some help with your skip trace assignments? With MERLIN Locate Services, rather than adding staff, you can add an entire skip trace department of licensed private investigators who specialize in skip tracing. Check out MERLINLocate.com today. When you work with MERLIN Locate Services, you bring on a valuable experience and trusted extension to your team.
Are you an investigative professional? Have you heard about the investigatorstoolbox.com? Check out this exclusive online community for networking, learning, and data resource management. The Toolbox is a one-stop shop for all your investigative needs. Check out our robust collection of forums, our comprehensive learning page, and our expansive library of OSINT research tools. We've just released an app for both iOS and Android, so you can access the site seamlessly right off your phone. We have also partnered with some amazing companies like Crosstracks, Delphpoint, IRB, SKOPENOW, the Hetherington Group, PI Magazine, PI Gear, MERLIN Locate Services, Parabin, the PI Institute of Education, and so many more. They're offering over $1,250 worth of discounts and benefits exclusively to community members today. Use code PIP201836 and save 10% on your membership. That's www.investigators-toolbox.com.
Check out the latest issue of PI Magazine. Bob Macwiak graces the cover, and there's a great article on how the magazine was started. Available today.
And welcome back to this week's episode. Today we are talking to Eric Devan from Devan Associates down in South Carolina. And I want to welcome you back to the program, Eric. How are you?
Thank you. I'm still doing well.
Still doing well. Good. We still got you.
Yeah, you still
good. You're getting paid by the hour, I guess, right?
Yeah, I'm here for the day.
All right, fantastic. So before we jumped out, we were started to talk about the methodology of witness statements. That's really what I wanted to hammer down on today. So we were just talking about certain scenarios of how you approach things. So walk me through when you get let's say a criminal investigation, because we were talking about that a little bit. Attorney calls you and they want you to talk to like 3 or 4 people. How do you approach this? What's your mindset in going into a particular area? Do you go on Google satellite and look at the area to kind of understand what you're getting yourself into? Like, what's your approach on these things?
So the first thing is I wanna be sure. This is silly, but but if you don't do it, Murphy's Law, you're going to get burned. I want to be sure that I have the name correct. So if I'm giving the name David James, it's really James David.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I have the name correct. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is I want to make sure that the information that the attorney gave me in reference to like an address or some other kind of identifiers like their date of birth or something like that, I want to make sure that that's correct. So I'll do my own database search. I mean, some of them are so inexpensive, it's just worth it to do it.
Right.
And if they give me an address, 124 Mockingbird Lane, I want to make sure I had the same address, because even though, I'm charging by the hour, I don't want to be frivolous with, going to bad addresses when I could have spent, $5 to check before I walked out the door. So I try to make the most of my my clients fund,
Right.
and especially in criminal defense, because a lot of times there's a limited amount of money available for the investigator to use.
Yeah.
So and I keep really good progress notes. So I'll say that I have this person's name, and then I check the name, and then I check the address. I also want to develop any phone numbers I can, and I want to differentiate between the house phone and the cell phone. And I also want to get any email addresses I can. And I don't know about you, but let me think. I have one, two, three, four. I have four uh, uh, email addresses, and then I have a fifth one that I never use.
Right.
So, and I'll tell you why that's important. So, I want to gather up all the email addresses that I can. So, next I will um, do a Google search of the address because I want to know what the address looks like before I get there. I had a case in Philadelphia where I had an address. I drive up. It's a tower project building, and I didn't have the apartment number. And so I'm looking for a 25-year-old black male to come out the door.
Right. Good luck.
There's no parking in the building.
Yeah.
So a 12-year-old girl from that distance looks like a 25-year-old black male.
Right.
So I want to know if it's an apartment. Now I want to develop the apartment number before I go. If it's a home, if it's a residence, I want to see, if it's a cul-de-sac. Um, I want to look in not only Google Earth to see like the streets, the way in and out.
Right.
Um, but I also want to look at a Google image of the house. If there's a dog house in the yard, they have a dog.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Um, if they have a garage and you don't see any cars, you can't assume that nobody's home, because the car could be in the garage.
Correct.
So those are some of the things that, and I'm sure I'm not thinking of everything, but those are some of the things that I want to look at. Like if there's a fence
Mm.
and you have to go into the fence to get to the door. Those are just some of the things I want to look at again before I go, because I want to figure out, you know, um, where do I need to park? Um,
Are you
if it's a
doing?
cool,
Do you do social media profiling on
oh,
witnesses or no?
I was going to get to that
Yeah.
too. So I want to finish this because
Yeah. I'm
I
sorry. Go ahead.
want this to be no, 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 fine. This is important for folks. Like if it's a cul-de-sac, so there's basically one way out. That means I want to drive up and drive around and have my car facing out.
Oh yeah.
Not facing in. So I can just pull out if I need
Keep
to.
the motor running.
Right, right. Depending on the neighborhood, you might have to. So,
Yeah.
so I want to do that. And then the next thing I do is I want to check social media. This actually came up on something yesterday or 2 days ago. I want to check social media, and I want to see if I can find a person on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or something like that. And so um, I have a dummy account on Facebook that has nothing to do with investigations. And so uh, my dummy account has thousands of friends, and uh, I have this appearance of being a some kind of celebrity, who's who celebrity type. And so if I go to friend somebody, um, they say, "Oh, why would this, celebrity guy want to friend me?" Yeah, of course.
Right.
He's cool. He's got cool friends. Yeah, I'll friend him. So that way, if they have a private profile, I'll be able to see in their profile. Um, if it's if it's we were talking about criminal defense.
Hmm.
So let's say like the incident happened 6 months ago and they were involved in an attempted murder, right? So I'll look back through their profile and their postings, and maybe on that day or the next day they'll say something like, "Hey, I got some trouble last night. I really shouldn't have did what I did.
Right.
And they'll not only give you uh, Facebook is just people telling on themselves, to be honest, but they'll they'll just give you clues on who they are and what to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah. What books they
And
like, what movies they like, things like that.
right,
The one thing I just want to interject a little bit on this, because it is a tight topic, as far as the friend requesting on social media, and just something to keep in mind. Whatever state you're in, you want to follow guidelines on that.
yeah,
And often you're an extension of the attorney you're working for, and they have guidelines on them not being able to send friend requests or have direct contact. So witnesses, all right, it's debatable. Defendants, I really
oh,
wouldn't do it. Yeah, I
yeah,
wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. Just
absolutely not. But only for witnesses. We were
yeah.
talking about.
So just kids gloves on those situations. I would say we're not attorneys. At least I'm not an attorney. But I would say you want to be careful on that, ethically, making sure that you're not crossing over, because that could come back and haunt you, right? If you're testifying in court, next thing you know, they're pulling out, like in New York, there's opinions. The New York State Bar Association has opinions on how you shouldn't do that. And it can make it look bad. Even though you developed the information that's helpful, and whatever that person had to say was helpful, the way you got it could become problematic. So definitely you want to stay on top of that stuff and let the situation of who you're talking to and why you're talking to them dictate how you're approaching that. So I just wanted to interject that and make sure folks
Yeah, and
understand that.
that's a very good point. Also, probably I would say more often than not, I just use their Facebook profile just so that I know what they look like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I went to a woman's store on Memorial Day, knocked on the door, and she came to the window, and I called her by her first name.
Right.
He was shocked, but I knew what she looked like
Yeah.
because, you know,
These are
I had
tricks. You're
her
creating the comfort level.
right.
It's definitely
And
right.
so I had another person, I knocked on her door and I said, I'm looking for Stephanie. And she said, Stephanie's not here. And I pulled out her picture from Facebook and I said, this is you, Stephanie. And I always speak truth to people.
Yeah.
I'll get into the one I was talking about on Monday. I went down and knocked on the door. A woman came to the window. She identified herself, and I told her I was there because she had ID'd somebody in a photo array, and then she went down to the police station and she ID'd them again. And she said, I don't remember and I don't know what you're talking about. And I said to her, you do, you know, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I wasn't rude about it, but I
Yeah.
told her
Yeah.
like, I'm not accepting that. Like,
Right.
um, because if you went to ID somebody in a photo lineup, I mean in in a booth, in a dark booth looking through glass, you're not going to forget.
Yeah.
So um, it's okay to call BS on people and then keep it moving. I mean, don't be rude, please.
Right.
Don't. I'm not ever suggesting to be rude or be a bully. I just said, really nice. I said, no, you remember. Honestly, you remember. And so, once we got past that, she was okay. We
Yeah.
ended up having a conversation.
That's good, man. That's and
Yeah.
again, you turned a potentially problematic situation into a win for you, a victory based
Yeah.
upon really the tone of your voice,
Yeah.
and your mannerisms,
Yeah.
which those are skills that you either have them or you don't, and they're so important, especially when you've got a witness who, I'll tell you whatever you want to hear, but I'm not signing anything. Right? We get that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And you got to start the negotiations. It's like, hey, do you really want to take a day off from work? They're going to throw a subpoena at you. You think your boss is going to pay you? Probably not. Why don't we just get this out of the way now? And I'm telling you, like, what you're signing here is probably going to resolve the matter, and no, you're not going to hear from anybody ever again. Like,
You know what works for me? I haven't done that, but you know what works for me? When I get somebody who doesn't want to give a written statement, they just want to talk to me. So after we get finished with them telling me the same thing, repeating themselves over and over again, but they don't want to give a recorded statement, I say, okay, so let me repeat what you said because I'm gonna have to go back and tell my boss. And they're like, okay.
right. Yeah.
And so I will purposefully screw something up. No, no, no. Remember, I said, oh, okay, okay. Let me start back from the very beginning. You said to me that you were on the east corner, west corner. Okay. You were on the west corner. I'm really good at this. You were on the
Yeah.
west corner, and then
You frustrate them.
hold
That's
on,
fantastic.
let me write this down. And then I'm writing it down. I'm like, shucks, I'll stop in the middle. I'm like, you got me writing all this stuff down. You know my boss is going to send me back. You know he's going to have questions. You know that he's going to say, well, how do I know that you got this straight?
Yeah.
He's going to make me come back 2 or 3 times. I don't want to disturb you. I appreciate you just talking to me and let me know. Just do me a favor. It'll make me look good if you let's just write this out.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they will.
Yeah. So here's something I always do too. Like, I like to let them know how important they are, and you really, put them in the story, because you did this. Now we're going to be able to probably resolve this matter, make them feel VIP, right? That's another trick. I get really cautious when you start throwing the S word out, right? Subpoena. You don't want to start threatening somebody like, hey, well, I'm just going to be back
I
with a
never
subpoena. That never ends well for anybody, right?
I never I don't because I figure um it's one thing to say that they're going to send me back to ask you again, and maybe I got it mixed up and they want to send me back to ask me again. But I think people know that A, they probably won't really get a subpoena, but if they do, they could just simply, you know, lose a day at work and say, I don't
I
remember.
don't remember. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't remember.
You don't want them to be combative, right? So the way I approached that, I was like, it could happen, right? You could choose not to tell me, but it could be my side. It could be the other side, because the other side knows who you are.
Mhm.
Maybe they're the bad guys and they're going to make you go to court. I'm not going to do it. We don't have any intentions of doing that, right? It's another way. At this time, nobody has any intentions of having you have any further involvement, right? I like to say that as opposed to, you're never going to hear from me again. You're never going to see me again, because when they do have those follow-up questions, or you need to re-interview, or you need to contact a guy to facilitate a deposition, he's like, what the heck are you calling me for? You said I was never going to see you again, right? Now you've got a problem, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want that to backfire on you. And I have seen in certain situations where attorneys have subpoenaed somebody who did not want to cooperate. And then they have me follow up like a week or two later saying, hey, I understand you got hit with the subpoena. I'm sorry that happened. There's a way to get out of this. If you would like to take the time to sit down and talk with me, we can do that. And now in the world of Zoom, where you can do things remotely now, I don't know how much longer, but you could do it remotely. That makes it even easier. I don't even have to come out and bother you and sit down. Like, we can do it online at your convenience, whatever time you get home from work. Take 10 minutes and let's just bang this thing out, right? So you have that opportunity now with technology, which is pretty neat. The other thing I want to talk about is, do you have the statement notarized? Now, I'm a notary. Everybody that works for me is a notary. It's something, our policy is all statements notarized. Uh, but not every attorney requires that. And again, it depends on the situation. My experience has been that if you do not notarize a statement, it cannot be used as an exhibit for a motion for summary judgment or something like that. It's not an affidavit. It's just basically someone's version of it, and you've pretty much guaranteed them that they're going to get called in to testify in something, because you can't use that particular statement to close anything out. What's been your experience with that?
Yeah, I'm a notary as well, and I, I think I only had one attorney one time ask me to have the statement notarized. I'm thinking of some other cases that were um, um, there were some other circumstances. Like I had a case with some migrant workers. Their English wasn't their first language,
Right.
and so they wanted those statements, notarized.
I'm glad you bring that up. We're gonna hit another point next.
Okay,
So yeah.
but
So
I haven't. That hasn't been my experience, and I know that um, my experience has been that the defense attorney has these statements, and they go to the solicitor and they say, "Hey, we had these statements. You know, let's negotiate," and
yeah,
that's been enough.
yeah,
And I'm thinking about the few times that I've had to testify, and it hasn't been an issue whether the statement, and that might be more, like in New York or other states where it may be more important. I do have the capability, and if my attorney wants to notarize, it's no
yeah.
problem. But
It's standard practice for us because a trial attorney told me very early on when I started my business. He's like, always get them notarized, and always put this following phrase at the end of the statement. I have read this statement, and under the penalty of perjury, it's true to the best of my knowledge. It's an
right,
acknowledgement, right? That is making it an official affidavit just by adding that verbiage there. And but sometimes you get the blowback. Perjury. What is that? Like, I'm not signing anything that says perjury on it. It's like, no, 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 no,
right,
no. This is the procedure. This is what needs to be in there. You know, it's just required so we're able to use it in court. Is basically what I tell
right,
them, and 9 times out of 10, it's not a problem. Um,
yeah,
and it's really important. It's basically taking your work product to the next level.
yeah,
It's like, because that attorney could come into a problem of, oh man, this statement is great, but it's not notarized. Like, I've had that happen too, where I'll get an account because the investigator prior to me took a bang up statement but never got it notarized. Like, now I have to go and do that. I had a case, it was like a $15 million case, and the star witness gave a statement 7 years prior and it was never notarized. So I had to like hunt this guy down, and I had to
get them
convince
to the
him
statement again.
again. And he's like, I already did this. I was like, I know you already did it, and I apologize, but we need to have it notarized. And could you please do this? And it took me probably about 2 months to convince the guy. I mean, he really was avoiding me. He owned a business, he was a busy guy. And it was just like, he told me, like, okay, if you can be here in 2 hours, and it was like Friday, if you can be here in 2 hours, Friday at 7 o'clock, meet me here. I'll sign this thing for you, man. I jumped in my car. I told my wife, like, I'm out. I
Yeah,
gotta get
yeah,
this
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Like, I'll
You
I'll be
gotta make it
back.
happen.
Tucking the kids. So,
You gotta make it happen.
and it was crazy. So I wanted to go back around to the witnesses that don't speak English or have a poor command of English.
Mhm.
And how do you approach that? What's the right way to do that? I always like to try and have a translator with me. I just did one literally like 2 weeks ago with Mandarin,
Oh,
which you
okay.
come across that in New York, right? Now, I don't speak Mandarin. I don't even know what the characters of that language on a piece of
Right.
paper. It could be Greek for all I know, right? It doesn't make sense to me. But I have somebody who I trust who, I gave them a set of questions, probably about 20 questions or so. Contact the witness, interview them. She came back to me with the responses. I went back to her with some further questions, and we basically did this interview like at the three people, right? And I then drafted the statement in English. I asked her to convert this into Mandarin, which she did. And then we brought the statement to the gentleman, had him read it in Chinese, Mandarin, and sign the Mandarin copy and also sign the English copy. Now, the English copy, it basically states that this is a translated version of the Mandarin. So they go hand in hand. Can't have one without the other, right? They got to go together, and it's got the guy's signature on both. And there were photos. He signed the photos. When you get in situations like that, because I've done Mandarin, I've done Polish, obviously Spanish. My staff, most of them speak Spanish, so that's not an issue. We're able to do things on the fly with them. But I always say, you got to have the statement in English and also have it in whatever language it is, and an affidavit from the investigator that they prepared both statements, and that they translated it, and get as much authenticity as you possibly can, because if there's ever any questions later on, you got a chair to sit in when the music stops. I mean, that's the way I approach things anyways.
Yeah. So I'm at my desk, so I wanted to show you something that I have that's really cool. I don't know if you can see it, but so it's a wearable translator. So I put this in my ear,
Fantastic.
right? And I give this one to the person I'm trying to talk to, and they can put it in their ear. And I'll let them, I'll clean it off or whatever. And then I select the language
Right.
that I want. I think there's like 100 languages.
That's awesome.
So say like it's Mandarin Chinese. So I give it to them and I say, hello, how are you? And in Mandarin Chinese, it automatically says, hi, how are you in Mandarin. So it's initially for the comfort level. So like I keep it with me because I never know when I'm going to have somebody that has a language issue. However, when I do have somebody with it, you're going to have to go back. Let's just start with this is going to be a 2-trip, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So especially if you don't know, but if you have this, and then you say, hey, listen, let's have a conversation, and then you can say to them, and you say it in English, but they're hearing it in Mandarin. Yeah. You understand that I don't speak Mandarin, but I'm able to communicate with you with this device.
What is that device called? Where did you get it?
Called wearable translator. Mm-hmm. Wearable translator, and it's like this egg, and
it's like an iPad or iPod.
You plug them in, and then it has a little charger there, standard charger.
Very cool.
And let me see if I can find it's like 100 languages. But anyway, it's just to like get the conversation going, because if you don't know that somebody has, if you don't know that you're going to have language barriers, but you have this, and you can start the conversation,
right?
Then you can always start the conversation, and then then come back to it,
right?
You get the basics, because you may find out that before you get your translator and some of the other stuff together, you may find out that really they just can't say anything to help. This is how it looks inside the pod. Very before cool. You close it, and then you close it, and then you put it on the charger.
Fantastic. And there are different apps and stuff that you can use as well. Okay, so we're going to wind down over here. Eric, thank you so much. This was really, really cool. I'm sure we could go on for another hour or so talking about experiences and techniques and stuff. So how do folks get a hold of you if they need to contact you?
Do we have a moment? I just want to say one more thing that I think is important. And if you keep this in mind, I think this will help when you're going out to talk to folks. Any investigation that you work, I don't care what database you use and what address you find, any investigation you work, you're going to put you're going to put something in somebody's hands. You're going to take something from their hands. You're going to give them some information, or they're going to give you some information. So how do you do that most comfortably? You're either going to give them information or put something in their hands. They're going to give you information or put something in your hands. And if you always have that in mind, You won't rely on the telephone. You won't rely on the database. You won't rely on somebody else's word. You have to be comfortable talking to people. You have to make them feel comfortable giving you something and taking something from you.
Right.
And if you're able to do that, because every investigation, you're going to have to do that when it involves people. You're always going to have to do that. And if you can get comfortable and learn to be comfortable doing that, then you'll see that you'll start to get better and better. But
Yeah, that's good stuff.
company is Devan and Associates. We're in Columbia, South Carolina. It's spelled out all one word, devanassociates.com, and the phone number is 803-447-3492.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. And we'll catch everybody next week on the next episode. Take
All
care,
right.
everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to reach out to Matt or Eric if you have additional questions. We hope you take these pointers and form your own style on how to get the perfect statement. We thank Nally, Crosstrex, Merlin Locate, NCISS, and SKOPENOW for sponsoring the show. Please support these great sponsors. And check out the investigatorstoolbox.com. You can join through the app available on iOS and Android platforms. You'll be able to access the whole site right from your smartphone. There's no better time than today to finally sign up for the site. 49 cents a day, you can take advantage of some great networking, training, and data resource management. And use code PIP201836 to save an extra $20. If you have a question or comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. He'd like your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. And we'll be back on Monday with a new show, so make sure you tune in and stay safe out there.